This is the 8-9 Combo.
Hi, Brett and Harry here from the 8-9. This is not the 8-9 Combo podcast. This is a recap of one of our favourite shows, episodes through the Rugby Championship, mate. This is what we're doing now to fill off weeks.
How's it, Brett? Well, if the match you're referring to is what I think it is, then it was actually one of the most painful and strangest episodes. However, part of this thing that we do when we say pod, I think if they were defining it nowadays, it would also have this sort of cathartic, tragic reaction sometimes, which you've been an expert in, a guru, you might say.
Yeah.
And then at some point, this year you had this wild, brief, shining moment where all of it sort of rolled into a big bowl of joy.
The rugby world flipped on its head.
And disbelief, if I might add, maybe.
Yeah. So this is a little recap of the now infamous Ellis Park post-mortem. You were there at the ground. It was about 1 a.m. kickoff for me, so it was about 3 o'clock in the morning by the time we were recording, and my memory of it is still saying that it was actually a good thing that we didn't record straight away because my heart was racing. It was one of those funny nights. It's a good fun look back. It'll be I'll be curious to see what people think, to look back and remember what we were remembering about the game immediately straight afterwards. What sticks out for you in that immediate chaos?
Yeah, everything looks different now in retrospect. Ellis Park, in some ways, sitting now at a sort of 7-win, 2-loss season with 2 of those wins being absolutely like a metamorphosis of a style of rugby and a spirit and a back-to-back championship. Not so much because of the championship itself, as we discussed, but because it settled a few things. Ellis Park maybe is sort of the foundation of that, which is a bizarre, because at the moment it felt like Tony Brown must be fired. Jerry Flannery's heads up his arse. Monty LeBoc is a try-assist machine for the other team. All is lost. And we peaked, and now this is the demise. And if you go back and read, on some of the Australian chat groups and forums, that's actually what people were saying. I mean, they were pronouncing the death, the demise of the champion, and now all the other hungry young lions were coming to eat the scraps. Now I look back on it more like what I just said, but also from an Australian point of view, it's really cool because now you see what could be. It's almost like an old pro told me one time: play golf and drop 2 balls and hit 2 balls on every shot, and take the best score from that, and you will see what you're capable of. So Ellis Park shows what happens in the Springbok system when you just get a few things wrong and you're not actually ready, and your legs are dead, and you have played Italy and Georgia as a warm-up. Almost like how the Wallabies looked when they played the Lions, and they hadn't had enough of warm-up. But from the Wallaby standpoint, it shows what this team can do when it just puts its head down and goes hell for leather, and things stick.
Yeah, and that's exactly what actually I touched on in my Rugby Pass column just last week, is that, the Wallabies are definitely better than they were this time last year, but are they better? Are they even at the same level they were coming out of that South African tour? And that's the recalibration that's been needed. Anyway, let's get into it. Enjoy this. We certainly did at the time. We're pretty sure we'll enjoy it all over again. It is the Ellis Park post-mortem, and we hope you enjoy.
The Wallabies fought like lions, like they stole the Lions' soul, and they came here to the home of the Lions, and they just would not quit. I never saw them hang their head, and there were reasons why they could have hung their head, but they didn't, and the Boks did, and that's a serious concern beyond the technical aspects.
Yeah. It's been quite incredible to watch, and I'm glad that it's probably an hour after full time now, and you've been to the presser, as you say, in taking the little bit extra time that we have. My heart was just racing for the last 20 minutes. Like I don't know what it must have been, like 150 plus. So I've actually been able to calm down a bit. It's been quite incredible to see this result. The Wallabies 38 have beaten the Springboks 22. The Australia's first win at Ellis Park since the 1960s. Just quite incredible. If you are watching on YouTube and you're not subscribed, we obviously want you to subscribe. You know, we do this every week. If you're on the pod platforms, hit subscribe, hit follow, all of that there as well. We brought the 5-word headline back through the Lion series, mate, and it's going to remain through the Rugby Championship, where once again the winning headline becomes the pod title. Good luck with this. What have you got?
Let's see.
I'll tell you mine, and you can tell me whether you need to compete or not. The headline is, "This wasn't supposed to happen."
That's good.
It just wasn't supposed to happen.
I'll capitulate and see that one just like the box did. All I would have come up with is something like Wallabies sacked the Citadel. I mean, this is a fortress. This ground right here.
Yeah.
It wasn't packed full, but it was full enough, and the initial vibes were so strong. The party, the bands, the music, all of it, and then it just felt like it was going to script, and then the script took a detour.
It really did. It really did. It started so easy for the Boks. They scored very early on through Kurtley Aronsah. They followed that up with Andre Esterhausen's try. That was followed up with Sia Khaleesi's try. The carries up through the middle were so strong. Even Etzebeth was so good from the second minute. I don't think the Wallabies got back into the Boks 22 after that point. Everything happened from outside, and so they never really got a chance to test out whether that yellow card was going to come, and everything just came from distance for that point. Suaalii finds that intercept of his from, I still don't really know how that happened. I've seen several replays of it, and it just sort of came from nowhere, and it was a real momentum turner, mate.
Yeah, it was a lot of going wide before you earn the right. Classic mistakes. Rassi in the press conference, both in English and Afrikaans, explained that as being players sometimes when they go up 22-0 can be a little bit, and quite frankly, seeing space, thinking maybe we can just, put the knife in and go for broke. But it did not, but they didn't stop it. The coaches didn't stop it enough. The players continued it. And that wide just gave the Wallabies those scraps that they love. They were poised and ready to pounce. And they kind of had played that way against the Lions. So in this sense, they could just sort of replicate that same scrappy pounce on it. I think Fraser McWright talked about being plucky. It was that kind of win. It wasn't. I didn't think James O'Connor had a particularly good night. Actually, it wasn't that. It was fighting.
Yeah.
It was scrapping. It was not that someone managed this game and won it. It was more that they never gave up, and they did the very opposite of the Boks, which I'm saying the Boks capitulated. And you can look around at the dark field right now. I'm going to tell you right now, all those boxes up there are full of people. And yes, they're drinking, and yes, they're eating. And right behind me, there's a massive buffet going. But they're all going, what happened?
Yeah.
They're also they're drinking, they're eating. I mean, this is South Africa. We're not going to stop a party. And it's going to go on a long time, and no one's kicking us out. But they're all saying, what the fuck? and say in various permutations, how they were like, I didn't see that coming. So your headline.
No one did.
Yeah.
No one did, mate. No one saw this coming. Everything all week was, how big a win is this going to be? Is this going to be a record win? How big is a record win? It was going to be anything but a close contest according to expectations and everything. But somehow, I don't know. I don't know how the
was there someone who predicted this?
No,
Not just the score, but like how it happened. I don't think so.
no,
Yeah.
no.
It's truly one of those wonderful, terrible things in sport. We almost had a terrible collision on the way here, actually, and it almost is my symbol of like that could have been death, or it wasn't. And I thought sport's the same way. Like you just little tiny moments, and you don't score a try, and suddenly you're under the sticks.
Yeah,
And there were so many moments where Belemsa had a wonderful break. Marty Lubbock had a break. They were almost away. They were just, a shoelace away.
But the pass would go behind a winger, or the pass would go into touch, or Williamson threw a couple of passes at one point that bounced, like it just did not find the mark at all. And the Wallabies, I don't know that the blitz stopped from the box, but the Wallabies somehow managed to. They were playing out the back a bit, and it was sort of like they were able to get to their third pass by sort of withstanding the initial blitz and then going wide. And Jorgensen found space out wide. Wright found space out wide. Kellaway found space out wide a few times, and then there was space up through the middle for from turnover and things. Harry Wilson scores his second try off the back of a Jorgensen contest and a right line break. That was a really funky try. It was, Well, so the worry of
the stadium, we couldn't figure it out. We're like, how did that happen?
What happened? Yeah. Well, I'm going to have to watch replays again on Sunday and try and work that out. The worry out of that will be that Wilson went down after he scored that try, and Schmidt sort of wasn't 100% sure, speaking on TV, whether he's twisted his knee or whether it's worse. They're not 100% sure, but hopefully that's not too serious. So that was certainly a concern. Fraser McWright won his third or fourth or fifth ruck penalty soon afterwards, and then Tom Wright scores that try of his, and that's in the 76th minute, and that was it. At that point, I have had to run into a blanket or a jacket or something like that on the couch in my office and scream my head off. It was 3:00 in the morning in my house. I didn't want to wake the rest of them, but I screamed like I've never screamed. And so I'm either in trouble a little later today or I've got away with this. It was.
Well, congratulations, man.
And I can't believe what I've seen.
And congratulations, Wallabies fans, because it's one of the great wins. When you put it into the scale, into perspective, it's one of the great wins, and it should be thought of that way. This is not, obviously, from a box standpoint, we can fall into the trap of saying how cataclysmic it was and how sad it was. It's not Brighton, but I would also say that Brighton is not in South Africa, so it is almost that feeling of terribleness.
Yeah.
But that would lose the major point here of the Wallabies are a proud, battling team. They're warriors. They hung in. And when you give a team a chance to hang in and you don't put your foot on their neck, pretty soon their hands are around your neck. And that's what happened here. There was a moment where the Boks could have stomped it, and maybe that would have happened if you had Pollard on, or if you had someone more of a game manager. I think Marty Lubbock just tried to keep winging it, and it fed right into that classic Wallaby style of never say die, hang in there, maybe it'll change, and then it changed.
So the defense from Ikitau and Suoli in midfield was excellent. It really shut down. Andre Esterhausen was very good, and particularly in that first half an hour, he was so hard to stop. But Jesse Creel didn't see a lot of ball, I've got to say. And in the second half, neither winger saw a lot of ball for the Boks. So they managed to find some connection in midfield and defended exceptionally well. What are going to be the main lessons, do you think, for the Boks out of this? I understand Rassie's already talked about the team that he's already named internally for Cape Town is almost certainly going to change next week. So I feel like there's a reaction coming here already. Wilson went down after he scored that try, and so that was certainly a concern. Fraser McWright won his third or fourth or fifth ruck penalty soon afterwards, and then Tom Wright scores that try of his, and that's in the 76th minute, and that was it. At that point, I have had to run into a blanket or a jacket or something like that on the couch in my office and scream my head off. It was 3 o'clock in the morning in my house. I didn't want to wake the rest of them, but I screamed like I've never screamed. And so I'm either in trouble a little later today or I've got away with this. It was...
Yeah. Well, congratulations, man. And
I can't believe what I've
enjoy it.
seen.
And congratulations, Wallabies fans, because it's one of the great wins. When you put
Yeah.
it into the scale, into perspective, it's one of the great wins, and it should be thought of that way. This is not, obviously, from a box standpoint, we can fall into the trap of saying how cataclysmic it was and how sad it was. It's not Brighton, but I would also say that Brighton is not in South Africa, so it is almost that feeling of terribleness.
Yeah.
But that would lose the major point here of the Wallabies are a proud, battling team. They're warriors. They hung in. And when you give a team a chance to hang in and you don't put your foot on their neck, pretty soon their hands are around your neck. And that's what happened here. There was a moment where the Boks could have stomped it, and maybe that would have happened if you had Pollard on or if you had, someone, more of a game manager. I think Mighty Lebok just tried to keep winging it. And it fed right into that classic Wallaby style of never say die, hang in there, maybe it'll change, and then it changed.
Yeah. So the defense from Ikitau and Suoli in midfield was excellent. It really shut down. Andre Esterhausen was very good, and particularly in that first half an hour, he was so hard to stop. But Jesse Creel didn't see a lot of ball, I've got to say, and in the second half, neither winger saw a lot of ball for the Boks. So they managed to find some connection in midfield and defended exceptionally well. What are going to be the main lessons, do you think, for the Boks out of this? I understand Rassie's already talked about the team that he's already named internally for Cape Town is almost certainly going to change next week. So I feel like there's a reaction coming here already.
Yeah, he talks about that, and probably there were also a lot of questions in Afrikaans about the idea of the bomb squad and if it's passé and if maybe that has been cottoned onto by the world and so there needs to be a different thing. He was very humble about it. I feel like
that's an overreaction.
He was very humble about it, even taking a couple of absurd questions and not saying they were absurd. He actually said, yeah, I'll think about that. Someone said something like, should you fire yourself, that kind of thing. And
Jesus Christ.
And he said, we are on the chopping block. He said that, but he said that in 2018 too. And typically when that happens, you get a very focused Rassie, a very deadly Rassie, and focus. And he just said, we have to win the Rugby Championship. Adjustment is, we're not talking about winning everything. We're just saying we have to win this championship, which means, we have to win next week. A much more humble formulation.
I'm still half expecting them to win the next 5 games and win it quite well. I still think that's very much. It could be one of those.
It could be the greatest wake up. I do know that sometimes teams that go up really quickly early, and it looked like butter. It looked like taking candy. 22-0. That sometimes can go against you. We've seen that so many times.
Yeah.
So maybe if you take this analogy and say, well, that's the very opposite that happened in the game itself. Now was a big smash in the face. Maybe that's the best thing for the Boks. However, even though you hear people partying and drinking and whatever, drowning their sorrows, this was very, very chastening. It was a rude awakening. And yes, the Boks had plenty of permutations to go to in team selection, but on tactics and a bomb squaditude, that was sort of like rock solid. Always outscore the other team in the last 20 minutes. Always have more fight, more desire. Sia Khaleesi talked about how they are ashamed, mortified.
Yeah.
So
it's 38 unanswered points in an hour at Ellis Park. Like it's quite unbelievable. There's conversations already on my socials. No one can think of a greater Wallabies comeback, but conversely, the opposite is also true. Can you think of a worse South African capitulation?
I mean, not lately. It's the worst loss of the Rassie era. And Rassie just said that. He said he was the most embarrassed. It's the worst. Not just because of the scoreline, and as you say, the actual way the game went, but the lack of fight He didn't like that at all. He didn't like that there was a meekness to the loss.
Yeah.
He did point out the lineup, which we talked about in our tap and go or our preview, forget which, that was a vulnerability all year.
Yeah.
And so he obviously has to fix that. His team has to fix that. And then, he thought that you guys won the breakdown when Marcus van Staden was off. So that's also to be addressed. Yeah.
What did he have to say about the Wallabies? I'm intrigued to know about that.
Oh, he just said they played a great game. They were fierce. I think was the word he used in Afrikaans. He said that Joe Schmidt's a very clever coach, that they never thought it wouldn't be hard, but he still thinks he didn't say that they didn't deserve the win the way they did. They did, but he said he hated the way the Boks gave them opportunities to come back in. That's as any coach would be. Yeah,
absolutely. So what about then for the Wallabies? There's still so much they can improve on. The line out went missing for about 25 minutes in the second half there. That they were getting picked off. There was still way too many turnovers. There was still way too many defensive errors, particularly in the first half, particularly in the first 20 minutes. So what's the next week look like for Joe Schmidt and the Wallabies now heading to Cape Town?
It's kind of funny. Both teams might be working on their lineup for 4 days.
True.
I love both teams could look at their lineup and say, what was that? I think probably Joe has to take what happened tonight and find something that's replicable, because I don't know if you can do this every time. I don't think the Boks will give it to you guys that way. So probably got to start better, and then Boks got to finish better. So maybe we'll have a weird flip of the script next week. Who knows?
Yeah. There was some interesting moments there when the Boks did get that yellow card warning, and there was a real conversation out in the field between the Wallabies. What do they do? Do they take the 3 at that point and get back a little bit closer? There was a genuine conversation. They end up kicking for the corner. They end up turning it over at the line out in the end. It was funny to hear Michael Hooper on Stan Sport here in Australia talking about, sometimes you wonder about 3 points not taken. It's like, Michael, come on, you're killing us.
Come on. You have no irony, no sense of irony. Okay.
There's no irony at all. So I still don't really know what to say. I don't. This is such an unexpected performance, such an unexpected to win that it's almost impossible to process it immediately, mate. It's I'm humbled by so many of the messages and responses that have come through on my socials from South African fans already. Thank you all if you're watching and listening. There'll be more feedback come back after this, so thank you all in advance. I don't know. I feel like I'm almost underselling this Wallabies performance because it was just so unexpected.
Yeah, I don't think this game is easily summarized.
No.
So I think your title is apt, because we're all dealing with something. We go, but I don't really truly believe that A happened and B will happen again.
No.
So
that's fair.
So we just watched. It was one of those great nights to be there live, in the sense of you saw something that people will talk about for a long time and go,
yeah.
People say like something's over. They go, well, don't say it's over, because remember Ellis Park in 2025 and the Wallabies.
Yes.
Here goes Jones with another bruising run. He links up with McKay, who pops back to Jones. They can't. They won't. They will. What a try. The Dream Team combo go in again.